Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the rank 1 Terran in the world in the red. It's Team Liquid's Clem, facing off against the former world champion, the Zerg in the blue, the Executioner. We have Rogue in a best-of-5 Zerg versus Terran tournament showdown, the playoffs of Wardi's 2025 end-of-the-year championship. And before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button, or maybe even subscribe. Help me count the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? No, still just one more. 1,771 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As the first Lings and drones will bear the brunt of the Reaper, and the SCV block the third base just to make life difficult and ideally as short as possible for many of those early game units. But the Queen pops out, looks to shoo the Reaper away, but it leaves of its own accord. And Clem will successfully delay the third, at least for now, long enough to get his own third command center boldly going, where many command centers have gone before. Yet still a little more bold than we're used to seeing from the Frenchman, as it's just on the low ground. It's not even part of a wall, it's just kind of out there, all right? Like me not shaving after being sick for a week. It's just kind of out there. Are we gonna talk about it? I'll leave it to the comments. All right, I don't think it's gonna stay. I was just too lazy. Moving on. I had to address it, Jimmy. Self-conscious. The Queens. Politely. No, not well, as politely as possible, yet firmly asking that Reaper to move away yet again. The Reaper, like many Terrans, does not really respect basic social conventions. Or maybe that's just the French. Or maybe the overlap is strong. In fact, there's quite a history of French Terrans in StarCraft too, but it continues to this day with more Hellions coming across the map. The Zerg rocks about halfway to bleeding out in the center, assuming Rogue is unable to press the creep out and delay the inevitable. A Banshee on the way. Cloak behind it, and the most standard fare. Even though the Overlord comes in, it's going to take a peek around. The Marine is going to push it back for now, and very unlikely to kill it. But he's got all the info. He sees the tech lab upgrading, and you can't take the risk that it's not Cloak. All right, even if you think it's a fake, you still have to have those spore crawlers in a timely fashion, or a lair, or even better, both. But so far, the Queen's continuing to be pumped out. The lair begins. A handful of Zerglings. Assume you can fit like 8 in your hand, which... huge hands. I don't know. The Zergling's gonna easily grab 2 of the Hellions. Caught on the wrong side of history. And Clem was trying to cover both sides, and now he might not be able to hold either. Just a few extra Zerglings early, overwhelming the Hellions before Clem can realize or react to it. A couple barracks on the way, a couple engineering bays right behind him. So Clem focusing on the unit count and then the upgrades. But still going to have all the infrastructure for that full-on macro timing. Meanwhile, a lair for Rogue. This is about as cookie cutter as you can get past the Christmas season. And so far, both players directly within the lines of what you'd expect from Zerg versus Terran. We have Rogue with 3 bases going past 50 drones at 5 minutes with a lair completing. He's got a hydralisk den and double evo chamber on the way. In fact, I'd argue the double evo may be a little on the later side, considering how much gas he has in the bank. Clem, on the other hand, using the Hellion Banshee to try to keep some semblance of map control, but honestly, unable to do much. He's going to kill a couple drones. The Banshees are always a threat. A massive missile pod-based thorn in the side of any Zerg player who doesn't deal with them quickly. And really, without mutas, there's no way to deal with them if they're paying attention at all. And Clem is pretty well known for paying attention to his units. Must be nice. Baneling nest on the way, and Rogue! Rogue! Thank you. +1 ranged attack as opposed to melee attack to start things off alongside Carapace. So Rogue is going for mass hydralisks, which lends itself to maybe a lurker-based composition later. But that is pretty far down the line, as right now he's clearly focused on that mid-game. Ooh. Reaper grenade still finding some success. Bounces the lings around. Couple medevacs on the way. Mines. Second factory, as well as an armory as well. Forgive me. All right, what are words? Why are words? No. 1-1 finishing up for Clem. Combat shield. Stim's already there. And the fact he's not going for the mass barracks, but instead the factory, means he recognizes this is going to be a mass ground-based composition. And not Ling Bane, but Hydras, maybe Roaches, but either way, siege tanks are a strong option. Mass Widow Mines are always a threat, especially... Mass Widow Mines aren't so dangerous until you combine them with anything else. And Clem has a tendency to combine them with everything else. Widow Mines individually are not that difficult to deal with. But when there's a drop on the left, an attack on the right, and Widow Mines scattered throughout the center, it becomes infinitely more so. Infestation bit is on the way, as Rogue with quite a satisfying tech progression, quite literally in the main. Baneling speed will be completing momentarily. +2 armor is the first choice for Clem, making a very Beyond-esque move of getting armor before weapons. Lurker Den is already on the way as the Hive begins just before 8 minutes. Not particularly quick, but definitely not slow. Caught between the tortoise and the hare here. The Hydras should be enough. 1-1's done. Without any Widow Mines or siege tanks behind, the Hydras can take a similar number of Marines. The critical mass builds up quite quickly. It's just the Marines have a tendency to be more maneuverable. Now that siege tank is able to hit the high ground over the moat here, which works against Rogue. The drones are just being blasted by the single tank, putting a timer on all this. Rogue is clearly setting up for whatever he can, just coming in from the north side, draws in some of the Widowmon hits. There's more on the back line. The Queen successfully tanking some of the tank hits. Takes out the tank itself. The Overseer draws the Widowmon hit in and knocks out the rest of the Marines. He falls on his own explosive grenade, which is just a regular grenade, and the Banshees come in, actually pick off. The Banshees come back and get one of the infestors, but they were able to take out one in turn. Rogue, though, with a decisive victory on the field, able to turn the Widowmons against Clem. But Clem is not done. It wasn't decisive enough to just go rolling across the map. And no, the Widowmons on the second round gonna thin out almost exclusively the Zerg. The Hive is done. The tech is potentially available, but he hasn't had the space nor the resources to really use it. That single Banshee, 13 kills. Overseer moving to intercept. No Overlord speed yet. The Marines in autumn colors, but the Banelings are easily targeted. The upgrades are even. The army supplies similar as well. Another couple Widowmon hits, slamming the point home. And so far, Rogue has held the line, but he's been unable to push it back. Whereas Clem, back at home, does not have a Ghost Academy, nor does he have 3-3 started because he still hasn't finished 2-2, but there's the Ghost Academy. There's the 4th base with a planetary fortress. And the Hydras, Lings. Another toll paid by some of the Zerglings, but good micro splits off a couple over to the right flank. Fungal comes out, one very unlucky Marine. Meanwhile, the Infestor's caught out. The Fungals turn it around, but he needs detection all the way across the board, and Rogue has never been someone to shirk Overseers in the late game. But so far, shirking is indeed happening. He only has 2 Overseers without speed spread throughout the map, and that is starting to cost him, as every time he wins a fight, it seems like the Widowmons take another toll on the way out. And it's adding up. 177 supply for Clem to 165 for the Korean Zerg Rogue. Four ghosts in production. We've reached the late game. The Nydus on the way. Both sides nearing 200 supply. The Widowmons sacrificing dozens of Zerglings. He's gonna get some Banes. The Widowmines thinning everything out. And no detection. Finally bringing it up. Somehow Rogue still manages to power through. Well, maybe underestimating the power of Hydras, but estimating just fine as he turns it around. Rogue still on the ropes. He cleaned up some of the minefield, but there's still a dozen scattered throughout. They're racking up the kills. Let's see, 2 kills, 6 kills. Many of them getting Hydras, though. It's unclear whether these were just reinforcements or left here to deal with the Nydus, but the Nydus has been revealed. Overlord speed is finally done. Overlord's patrolling to clear minefields. At least that's what it looks like at the moment. Trying to... Brendan, no! We don't talk about it. More CCs than a poorly formatted corporate email chain right now for Clem. 4 more in production, joining the 4 he has currently mining. And the economies will continue to skyrocket as the skyrockets are eventually dealt with by the Overseers. Go set it into the composition. The Spire is on the way, as Rogue acknowledges that at some point he's going to need an actual late-game composition. And Hydras and even Lurkers aren't necessarily it. And the Oversight Committee is coming together. Rogue's mass Overseer strategies with mass... Oh my. Mass Changelings occasionally contaminate. The problem with contaminate is it costs 125 energy, and the Overseer has to be physically close to the thing it's contaminating. Opening it up to snipes and just missile turrets and everything. Like, the mass contaminate ideas are all well and good, but is it worth losing a unit that costs 50 gas to delay a ghost for about 20 seconds? I mean, maybe today is the day, but first, the Changelings. 14 Overseers, as Rogue is not hesitating. He just hit 200 supply. He's not even maxed out at upgrades. He's already got a dozen Overseers and mass Nydus on the field. More Widow Mines slamming. But Clem is set. He's got his bases. We're doing this. We're going to the extreme, supreme late game. Rogue with mass... he's building 11 more Overlords. More Overlords, if you would. That was a pun. Please like and subscribe. But we always have to ask ourselves that question at the end of the day. At what cost? Each of those Overseers costing 150 minerals and 50 gas. If you combine the Overlord themselves, which you literally can't ignore. There will certainly be plenty of detection. Clem is going to have double-digit command centers. The Changelings are triggering the Widow Mines because they haven't yet decided what they want to be in life. Until they find purpose, Clem gunning them down. Actually sussing them out pretty quickly. Nuclear missile is on the way. 5 more command centers. He's going to have something like 12 orbital commands, which is just map hacks with extra steps. A Nydus over to the left side. The Overseer count is at 37. Oh my. Yeah, well, he's trying to deal... At some point, the best way to figure out which ones are the... Somehow Clem gets every single one of them. 17 more Overlords on the way. This is... It's too much! So there is a physical limit. Part of the reason I upgraded my PC last year, and good timing, right? Is because I kept casting Rogue games where he kept breaking my graphics settings, and I had to turn them down because this is the only way to really raise the unit cap reliably, is Overseers with mass Changeling. Because Overlords do not take supply. They are the supply. A Venn diagram of freedom in the main. The Liberators are forced back, though, and I'm not sure how many of these units can actually attack. There's Changelings everywhere. 18 Corruptors on the way. Clem has a massive bank compared to Overseer Man here. The creep is extending an obscene way across the map, but there are 2 contested bases in the center, which I think this game will revolve around at the end. 35 overseers. Neither player has lost an obscene amount of units. We've seen 19 to 13k, which is relatively light for this stage of the game. Another command center, finally working through the mineral wall. The amount of changelings should eventually get to the point that it's just a fool's errand to even try. The thing is, Rogue is using Clem's sort of strategy against him. Send so much out, you just can't keep track of all of it. And so far, Clem is the one playing catch-up, as he's getting ground into mustard here. That's the process, right? I get it. Meanwhile, the lurkers escaping into the Nydus. Not the most clean escape, but better than if he had stuck around. The tactical escape Nydus. Ricky, the accidental swarm host, is entering the production tab. More lurkers in the main. Clem is scrambling. And right now, eggs have not had a lot of success in StarCraft 2 history. He's getting cracked easily by the Nydus, one after the other. If the first one is able to be unleashed, the second one is more likely, and the one after that, the Liberator is going to be taken down by the Corruptors. And Rogue is outmaneuvering another Nydus into the main. Meanwhile, Zerglings overrunning. The Lurkers back into the Nydus because Ghosts aren't so good at taking it out. Zerglings on the left. Liberators gonna ping cushion. Another wave. It doesn't even bother with the Changelings. Obviously, they're Changelings. The Planetary takes out a swath of them. There are currently 30 Changelings on the field, scattered throughout. The minimap cannot be trusted, as half the red dots on it, maybe not half yet, but the red dots on it are not necessarily Clem's units at all. Even for us, they show up as Changelings. Or I mean, show up as Clem's units, rather. The Widow Mines will actually be, what, just the minimap, the oppressive creep. And what is, Clem's strategy is to survive and eventually take such cost-effective fights that he wins the game. That means he has to be at least, well, each base has about 11,000 minerals and it has 4,500 gas. So that's the number. Rogue will get at least one extra base. If he gets two, I don't think there's much of an economic future here that doesn't involve some sort of insider trading somehow. Like, if Rogue is able to expand to the 9 o'clock and the 3 o'clock and mine them fully, which he's looking to do by slaughtering his own Nydus worm in gruesome fashion, then how do you deal with that? There's no amount, and so far he hasn't been nearly that cost effective. He has lost 5,000 less minerals, 6,700 gas in total. 17 more! It's gonna be, he has 51 overseers. This is madness. No, this is Rogue. You know I like my roguelike StarCraft. If you've watched the second channel, Winter Gaming TV, and seen me play through the campaigns as multiple classes. But this is as roguelike as it gets. The uncomfortable amount of eyes on those overseers watching over. A greater spire is on the way. It's an obscene amount of units. The changelings by the dozen, and more, like, Clem at 500 APM and rising, and honestly probably at least half of that is trying to take out changelings, which is worth the effort if they're right in front of you. I wonder if he has some rapid fire on attack on there, but because you have to click on each one. But here comes, and it also makes it impossible to snipe. Find a target. Yeah, pick out the infestor. Good luck. I mean, if they retreat like that, show their back, but part of it is the mass changeling seeing everything for the Nydus. Part of it is always having detection. Part of it is physically blocking the ability to line up the snipes, which is a maddening strategy to deal with. and of dubious effectiveness. But so far, Clem has not been able to push back, and he hasn't been so cost-effective that this seems like a good long-term investment. But we're still a long way from mining out of the current basis. 51 overseers. This is ridiculous. You're doing it wrong! Well, the EMP's whipped out, but the Whittle Mines and the Banelings create quite a combination and just melt through the ghosts. He's trying to take out, he even has the escape Nyduses near each set of lurkers, which is another addition that other players have tried, but Rogue is taking to the next degree. He's taken it so far, it's rolled around to being genius again. We've seen a few players try, including Cyril, to always have that escape Nydus. But Rogue is being kind of religious about it. He doesn't do anything small. Clem is up to 500 APM just dealing with all this. The fact that Rogue has over 100 less, yet it seems like he has a stranglehold on this game, is a testament to the efficacy and the oppressive nature. The Venn diascan, Liberators, I can't, there's too many animations. The Liberators are sieging up en masse. He has 11 Liberators, 27 ghosts. Where are they? Around. In fact, he's cut Marines mostly out of the composition, which is probably a smart move. The Overseers, maintaining cover. The Liberators will be shoved out of the way by the Corruptors. Changelings every which way, boxing in the ghosts. Somehow he lost detection for Nydus! This is not a campaign mission, I'm pretty sure. Though it certainly feels like one. As Rogue just barreling through. A gratuitous amount of Zerg. More ghosts will go down. Another Nydus is taken out. Should have taken out the Nydus worms instead of the air. The Changelings are so numerous, they are physically keeping Clem out of his base or in it. Another wave of mules will drop. I think Clem's starting to realize that if he doesn't do something soon, he's not going to be doing anything at all. The double Nydus. This hatchery wasn't actually taken out with the first round. Cloak goes dropping out of a medevac. Rogue dipping heavily in supply. His army supply is quite mediocre at the moment as well. He has no larva, despite having the money to spend. The queens have been slacking, or just can't keep up. There's only 4 of them left. Another army somehow makes it to the top right corner. The incomes are starting to dwindle. Barely 1 base of income for both sides scattered throughout. More command centers dropping. There's 14 orbital commands. No man should have this many commands. Oh my. More banelings down the center. The Overseers. Another, just, you know, you can afford it. He can drop 10 mules at a time and have scans left over. I think he has a nuke somewhere. Just fermenting right now in the Ghost Academy. 11 Brood Lords. And also he forgot adrenal glands. Considering he's lost 700 Zerglings, I feel like adrenal glands may have been a bit of an oversight. As he's been so focused on oversight. There are 100 Zerglings. Those Brood Lords. The Ghost count has been cut down to a lowly 15. 38 ghosts have been killed. Only 11... Well, they're not exactly the most confrontational units. There are 62 Changelings scattered throughout. 116, 14 Zerglings. He's adding some more Banes constantly. The Brood Lords. How many Infestors? 0. Which is not very many. But I think he's gonna physically try to block. With so many Changelings, he can't get into snipe range. And that's very plausible. More Zerglings coming through. And Rogue! This is madness. I've said that 7 or 8 times by now. And that seems like underselling it. just drowning Clem in changeling. Almost, there are currently twice as many changelings as actual marines. The broodlings as well. More lings than your body can handle. Clem has drained his bank. It's not like Rogue has a massive one himself, but the sheer amount of broods and the banelings underneath that are only revealed when the overseers move out of the way. This base is completely mined out, but the planetary is certainly worth it. It has 88 kills. He's gonna repair it with a mule, as Clem only has 15 SCVs. It is an economic, military, and emotional disaster for the Frenchman. You don't go 14 orbital commands unless you're pretty confident in the late game. So changelings do count as kills for the planetary fortress. 115. But it feels like Rogue is tightening his grip. We're getting to the point where Contaminate might be the viable option. Not that it's needed. There's no more money left. The Broodlords come swinging in. The most lore-accurate Zerg. Nydus is everywhere. Broodlords overhead. Lings and Banes and Overseers, whatever they're needed. So many changelings, you can't get out of your base. They will fight in the shade, whether they like it or not. The ghosts will survive, though some of them literally locked in by changelings. And through all the fire and fury, Rogue maintained 70 more supply. He's got 51 to 5 workers. There's a Widow mine racking up drone kills. Long distance mining. Sends out a drop. The changelings, they're just, it's endless. Ah! You want a piece of meat, boys? Got plenty of meat right here. Hey, where are you going, sir? Sir, do you have a permit? Papers, please. Glory to Zerg Stokska. Why do you sound like that? I don't know, we're doing a thing. The drop on the left side. Gonna jam those Marines into the corner. Everything's burning. Carrick is burning. Clem's dreams are burning. And the changelings are here. The highest count of units are changelings here to bear witness to the final conflagration of Clem's base. The orbital burns. The changelings are boxing in the ghosts. He's done it. Rogue has successfully drowned Clem in a tide of Zerg. If only Changeling showed up on the Units Lost tab. I think they show up on the... No, that's just non-Changelings. And Clem ends up losing slightly less than 100 more resources by the end, which is not too surprising. 900 Zerglings. Not 64 ghosts. Too many orbital commands. Rogue prevails. Armies will burn. Really embracing the campaign style of Zerg. Well, and Clem, he retreated into his shell so early. He was clearly confident, or at least he was banking on that bank in the long run. But Rogue made sure he never really got started. That was a masterclass, a clinic. Disgusting and beautiful, all at the same time. Game 2 is on Tidal Citadel. Well. Glad I upgraded my PC. It's the X3D processor. That, because most of the greatest RTS games were made over a decade ago and still continue to be technological masterpieces, whether they're StarCraft 2 or games that are less reasonable, the X3D, I wish I was sponsored. It'd be great to have some of those sponsorships now, but the X3D processor is the biggest upgrade I've ever made to being able to show these off in all their glory and all their horror. Well, that was, I think Clem's gonna get a little more aggressive. Yeah. 51 overseers. That is 7,500 minerals, 2,500 gas. That is an entire army of overseers. 7,500, 2,500 is a cheaper yet potentially maxed out army of things like Marine Medevac or Roach Hydra. Probably mostly roaches. He spent it, so effectively, for a significant cost, he added to his supply over 200. I don't know why he's the only one who can get away with it. Maybe Dark could. Yeah, hopefully Dark will be... It's still some months out, though there's a chance later this year. I know it's early. Later. But I can't think of another Zerg. Cyril has not... Cyril will build like 15. Just enough over... Cyril's like, I need just enough overseers to get changelings into sea Nyduses. Rogue's like, our overseers will blot out the sun. Which is a different vibe. For sure. I know which I prefer, but... Well, okay, yeah, the Reaper's doing some worker harassment, which is on brand for this game. You can commentate if you like. I will. Okay, jumps back in. Brenda, how's your voice, Susan? Not good. Not good. This is not an inflection. It's just coping. Okay. That's a lot of detail I didn't really need. You asked! It was more rhetorical. You're supposed to say, pretty good, thanks. That seems just kind of rude. You're not supposed to point that out either. That's also rude. Sorry, I am backed out for it. Well, I mean, a different start. That is a 3-2-1-1 out of Clem. As he focuses, yeah, not the least bit surprised to see something significantly more aggressive. Something that lets Clem, even if it's a higher risk, dictate the pace of the mid-game. Because clearly you do not want to let Rogue go. And Clem did a good job of keeping pressure on, but not nearly good enough. If Rogue already has Hydras by the time your attack comes across, that's not a very early attack. Alright, this isn't the Brood War. Hydras take their sweet time making it to the field in any sort of efficient fashion. So it's just going to be the double medevac play out of Clem. With a quick armory, is he actually going to go? With a few hellbats mixed in. Interesting. Not the most expensive piece of tech. A few hellbats can make or break these early pushes. Usually not, but they can. There's a thin line. Now, if he loses all the Hellions beforehand, obviously that's not going to help very much. It's a science fact. The double. Another Hellion grabbed as well. And we'll see. It's going to be ranged attack and Carapace yet again for Rogue. The lair is on the way. But you are not prepared. with the double medevac. The Queens, though, on the front line, but the Frenchmen gonna gun them down and burn them out. A revolutionary tactic, but an effective one, right on top of them, burdinating across the countryside. The Marines starting to thin out, but the hellbats holding strong, as there were only Zerglings to match them. The Queens trying to get one of the medevacs, but wanders closer to the hellbats. And Clem is still burning his way across. Another Queen down. And only a few remain, but putting them out in front of the potential drones, the Zerglings, and it looks like, at heavy cost, the Queens will survive and prevent any direct economic damage. Though, of course, forcing out all those Zerglings is economic damage in and of itself. But, it's better than losing the drones directly, obviously. One medevac makes it home. The rest of the units cleaned up. They managed to drive their way into the heart of the swarm, but they didn't survive the encounter. The first 2 overseers on the way. Will it be the last? Doubtful. Oh, wow. The trauma. Literally bringing the entire army to chase this down. Wow. He lifts into a medevac, stims half his army to chase down one overseer. PTCD, post-traumatic changeling disorder. That is a dramatic response indeed, and he just gives up on the attack. Okay, he regroups, consolidates, gonna move out with 1-1 finish. Oh, but wait! Hey, boys! Well, butter my biscuit. Yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2. Have we tried talking to the Zerg? I hear they're pretty cool. Hey! Oh, they figured it out. Sometimes they have trouble with those precise movements. Feels kind of low rag. Oh, wait! Well, hey, have you heard from my brother? Well, hey, you guys are so fast! What's up with that? Well, I don't think it matters now whether he has vision, as the Hydras are out. The Zerglings underneath, and in the main, the Queens are very ready. There's another attack to the left side, though, and nothing to defend, as Rogue was laser focused on dealing with the right flank and left the left open. But the Hydras are able to move quickly. Three Widow Mines at a time. Drilling Claws is already done. The Widow Mines had significant success, though not enough to tilt the scales in the last game. Siege tank jammed into a nice little corner there, and both corners covered. Oh, the fungal. Good catch. The tanks on the low ground. Widow Mines just exploderating both sides simultaneously. The tanks are cleaned up, but again, the attack on the left, but this time Rogue is ready. Clem was going to try to split and stem, but the Hydras. Rogue is boxing out the rank 1 Terran on both sides, putting on an absolute masterclass against what should be a heavily favored player. But Clem is susceptible to, he's very good at a relatively wide lane of Terran versus Zerg, and Rogue is well outside it. Rogue just comes barreling in, cutting across the entire highway, onto the Mad Max style, really. Witness me is most of his strategy. Literally, with that many changelings. Already it begins. Cuts in, knocks out one lurker, another attack. No lurkers to protect. Queen taken down, but the Queens have done a good job buffering. So far, only 7 drones lost. Rogue at 88. Full 4-base saturation and counting. We've got the Ghosts in production. +2 infantry weapons and armor is now on the way as well. Widow Mine drop. Already preempted. Tries to get in, but no! Clem too greedy with both of them. And gets knocked out by the Zerglings themselves. Adrenal glands this time. Rogue getting it quite quickly. A large amount of units taken out. Looks like he cleaned up a drop to the left. Oh no. Clem got out with it. A few stragglers were left behind. More command centers on the way. In what is shaping up to be yet another epic late game. 9 Overseers in production. We're to double digits already. The committee is coming together. Hey, you guys got any of those stems? Oh, well. Optimistic. He's gonna let it build. Don't know if he actually noticed the drone there, but he certainly did now. Here comes the committee. And, well, the thing is, the Overseers can only watch as the Terran units are tearing up everything that responds to them. Rogue overestimating the intimidation factor of the Overseers and is forced to bring another round of units in to deal with it. We've got the Fusion Core on the way. 4 Ghosts in production, Liberators being added on. Double Nydus in the main base, but are the Ghosts enough to take this out? One would be fine, but there's no Marauders here. He's scrambling back with most of the army, leaving the mid-map open. And the Nyduses will be taken out, but this is an opportunity for Rogue to regain some ground. So far, the income has been almost dead even, with Rogue now taking a slight lead. 8 more Overseers on the way. That's gonna be... Wait, he's up to 19 now. I don't know if he'll break his record. The Changelings starting to come out en masse. To the point where they're taking a significant proportion of the APM from Clem. Threatening a Nydus, but about 20 supply is left in the main to deal with explicitly that. Clem adding even more command centers. Widow Mines, forcing a heavy toll. Changelings mixed in with everything. Advanced Ballistics is on the way. Slams out another lurker. Few more fungals underneath. And the Banelings are trickling through, while the Hydras ping cushion some of the Liberators. Actually sniped some Banes. He's gonna spend another 5 seconds taking out all the Changelings. More. There's a dozen more Overlords in production. Here we go again. Now, what's different? The map. You're welcome. I got you. All right. Make sure to like and subscribe for more knowledge bombs. Like a truth terrorist over here. But the map. There's less bases. Significantly so. I believe 3 less on this map. Because there's the 1 contested. Maybe 2, but either way. The gold base is very important. But Rogue will not have quite as many areas to fall back on. In this scenario, it is more likely... The less bases there are, the harder it is to pull off this roguelike strategy. You just don't have the bank of resources. I mean, if you can deny the Terran at the same time, but the less ground that needs to be covered by the Terran army, the easier it is. With Mass Liberator and Ghost, it's Rogue relying on getting the Terran army out of position. Not the other way around, most of the time. Clem's army is designed to hold ground. Ghosts and liberators and planetary fortresses and sensor towers. This is Porcupine Terran at its finest / most disgusting. Widowmines, 32 Overseers, and the Ghosts caught looking the other way. The Nydus and the main will be taken out, but it'll cost Clem on the field. Another fungal. Another great catch on the Ghost. And he's just going to continue. Has 11 Ghosts killed so far. The Nyduses keep getting popped. But they're... Wait. Actually, a very awkward angle. He might be able to pop out a few lurkers, though it's unlikely to be worth it. Hello? A little awkward here, to say the least. Another Nydus in the main. Multiple changelings. You can't let this go for long. Meanwhile, Rogue sees the opportunity. Casual Cyclone. Not sure that was intentional. We've seen the accidental Cyclone from Clem before. Thankfully, finished the armory upgrades, but the armory itself is going to be taken out. Meanwhile, Rogue using this as an opportunity to grab more of the map control that has been denied him more often this game. The creep continues to spread out. Double. It still hasn't, like... There's so many liberators. But the Hydras come out. In fact, if you're not going to take it seriously, then Rogue certainly will. A planetary fortress will be smashed alongside the SCVs. The Olympic rings of freedom and the Venn diagram of liberation. The lurkers trying to outmaneuver. A costly exchange for Rogue. But he's able to break one of the bases, and he's starting to gut the infrastructure in the main. Rogue has 95 drones, which is good right up until it isn't. That is a max of 100-something army supply. Though Clem helps him out a bit and takes out 3 drones. The Zerglings closing in. Hi. How many actual there are 30 actual Marines. There are 34 changelings. Well, Clem keeps trying to stop the spread, but... And even a single changeling is enough to get the vision. It only takes one. Oh no. And then they got in. The SCVs! Wait, no, the SCVs are repairing! The changelings are everywhere! Oh, it's a disaster. The double Nydus. Zergling slipping in. This is just an orbital command. The changelings partially physically blocking burrows next to the refinery, which might actually block the refinery. The mass orbital is filtering both sides through the center. Rogue only has 700 gas in the bank. Clem is still maxed out with 5k, 4k. And that is a lot of liberation. 13 liberators covering the majority of the screen in liberation zones as we stretch the theoretical limits of this game. The Hydra's trying to close in, lunge underneath, but maybe if the liberators were on their own, but covered by the Marines and the Ghosts, the Hydra's having a tough time breaking through. Lurker's in the main, tries to line up some shots. He doesn't have cloak on the Ghost, which seems like somewhat ironically an oversight at this stage. Though maybe he's thinking that the oversight is so... You have this much gas. There's no reason not to have the cloak. Especially for dealing with things like the Nydus and the lurkers. Widowmine takes a bite. The Liberator will eventually deal with this, but more SCVs will go down. Clem strikes forward, though. The Zerglings swinging in. Here come the Overseers. Ricky is joining us yet again. Ricky, the accidental swarm host. The Corruptors finally to deal with the Liberators directly. That's what we were missing. The Corruptors that Rogue had relatively early last game. A bit late with their cameo appearance this time around. The Congress of Corruptors easily paid off. Say, oh, it's too expensive. All right, how are we going to pay for that? It's like, well, somebody needs to deal with the Liberators. And Hydra is only cosplay an anti-air unit. My eyes glazing over, looking at all the eyes of the Overseers. Only 31 of them this game. That's a recession indicator right there. Rogue not nearly as rich, relatively, as he was. Unable to get those multiple mining bait. Ooh. The Widow Mines taking some big bites. But wait, there's more! An entire volley of Widow Mines, and behind it, the musket line of ghosts. And overhead is a freedom zone of Liberators. Oh my. Rogue trying to scramble against the mines, but getting dashed easily. Lurker still finding an opportunity. A couple of the most action-packed games I've ever seen. But this time around, it feels like Clem has a much better grasp of the situation. If only because Rogue is unable to take nearly as much of the map uncontested. Still, hundreds, 124 Zerglings. The Changelings are physically blocking the army from getting through. And the Changelings, I think, just successfully defended the top right corner, at least for a little longer. He will spot the army. It's just too late. There are 21 drones over here. Certainly not something he wants to lose easily. Clem realizing it's just Overseers, which can't do anything but look very uncomfortable. Especially when you're shooting at them, but gonna try to drag out some of the mine hits. Another volley of mines, but this time spread over most of the Zerglings. The Liberators are more than ready for all this. And it's happening again! Ah! Ah! The traffic jam strategy. It ain't elegant, but it is effective. And Parasitic Bomb, wombo combo with the Corruptors, will be able to wipe out the vast majority. Snipes out, gets some of the Vipers. Clem holds his ground. The field runs red with the blood of both sides. And Clem's bank is gone. He's broke again, but is he broken? It's unclear, as he still has 139 standing army supply, and he hasn't been driven off of any of his bases. Rogue is mining again from the bottom left corner of the gold base. Clem is contesting the top right. Hatchery targeted down. The Corruptors gonna fight the command center. Is there building armor? Yes. 3-3-3 upgrades on the ground, but only 1-1 in the skies. Though Rogue is working on 2-2, moments away. Widow Mines diffused for minimum cost for now. Some for significantly more. Overseer count down to 23 after they've strayed into the fray a little more closely this time. 2-2's done in the Corruptors. The bases are mining out, but Clem might be able. He's lost 16,000 less resources. It's certainly gone better for him. Rogue has lost 13,000 more minerals. He's mined 12,000 more. We'll see what happens here, though. As Widow Mines line both sides, the Liberator's going to take massive bites out of it. The Corruptors, not very focused on it. The Banelings are closing in, though. And it seems as confusing to everyone involved. Maybe besides Rogue, what's actually happening underneath. But Clem survives with some of his units, as does Rogue. Yep. And now we're both at 120 to 130 supply. Who has the income? Clem actually has the mineral income lead because mules. But he's running out of mineral patches. Rogue is desperately denying this base. He knows if Clem mines from it, that'll be too close to even. Alright. He needs to deny it, even if it comes at a heavy cost. He's literally fighting against the bank here. Neither side has anything left. 135 supply apiece. More army supply for Rogue. I mean, for Clem, rather, obviously. Transfuses to keep the corruptors together. Ricky is still somewhere out there, menacing everyone. Actually burrowed in the center and on cooldown, so he's been using it. Him, sorry. The Widow Mines, Changelings scattered throughout, but the Widow Mines are gonna get huge bites. The Corruptors knock it out some. One Infester interrupts the snipe, but another command center. Clem is solidifying, though. There's only a couple Infestors. How many Corruptors? 10 Corruptors? Those Fungals? EMP lands. There's still one Fungal ready. Just lines up some shots, pops another Overseer. And Rogue. He's getting a Greater Spire now. All the same ingredients of his victory in last game are coming together. But is it too little? And is it too late? Huge Fungals. Corruptors coming in. Banelings rolling. The Lings and Banes. The Liberators. No. It's not enough. The Marines hold their ground. The Overseer count is back into single digits. Rogue is down to 110 supply. And he has no way to rebuild it. GG! The Clempire strikes back. Well. Another exhausting game. This time around, honestly, I think it more comes down to the map. The fact that Rogue couldn't get like 2 or 3 extra bases, but maybe 1 more. Considering he mined 11,000 more minerals, only about 1,000 more gas, 1,500. He lost just more than that, and with it the game. The economic battle was everything, and Rogue unable to get enough for a hostile takeover this time, which ties us up 1-1. Well, we certainly see the script here. We'll see how it plays out. We go into the now the largest map in the entire pool, named appropriately after your mother. They even have a ship about it. Mothership. 3-player map. More bases than any other because of that unique layout. It's not necessarily guaranteed a 3-player map will have more bases, it's just more likely. So very much could be that endgame sort of style. Or either could really play the counter meta and go for the cheese. Either way. What a series. Forgive me. I've been sick for about the last week or so. And honestly, I'm surprised I made it this far. I apologize for the kind of odd sound and look. But I decided, you know what? We'll do it live. I wasn't sure if we'd make it this far. Honestly, I thought I was going to get 15 minutes in and rethink, but the games are just too good. So, hopefully you've enjoyed. Like and subscribe. And make sure to check out Wardi for more incredible tournaments. I'm looking forward to 2026 as well. Also looking forward to the 2v2 tournament that Uthermal's holding on a regular basis. Heard Cyril versus Clem happened. in 2v2, but, you know, I'm sure we'll be clickbaiting that like no other. In fact, I think 2v2 is arguably more interesting. It's just the algorithm. And it's hard to get, after 15 years, now going on 16 of StarCraft 2, it is hard to do anything different and find if people are interested. After over a decade, I think things get pretty well set. For better or for worse. So, but if you do want more, you can check out the second channel as well. Winter Gaming TV does have more StarCraft and more games. Less reasonable ones, as we mentioned. But maybe you'll find something you like. And subscribe there as well. I meant to really get started on both. Like, I wanted to have a set schedule for the new year. And then the Zerg virus. So that was a... It only gets better from here. A little bit better, at least, hopefully. But hopefully we're back to it. The Reaper still. There is Zergling speed, but no Lings. Well, only 2 Lings to deal with it. Clem just runs by, and 2 Lings are not enough to stop the Hellions. Can start lighting up the drones. Only gets 1. The Reaper's still going, which... Well, that could have gone better. In fact, the Zerglings will chase down the next set of Hellions. Might be able to pick them off. So starting to become kind of costly. Brings them around the corner. And the Zerglings get a nibble. He jukes back. And... but more Hellions on the way. Gonna go back for a repair, it looks like. After some emotional and physical damage. The Queens. A little bit... Where are you going? Running off for now. Rogue is going to go for not a 3rd, but a 4th base. Before the 5-minute mark. Lara's on the way. Standard fare for Clem back at home. He's got the 1-1-1 Destiny Cloud Fist build. With the Barracks Factory, Starport, and Banshees with Cloak. 2 barracks behind. The engineering base should be started momentarily. Yep, there we are. As we go into the Marine... medevac. I was going to say Marine tank, but that's not guaranteed. In fact, just running by. The Queen's straying too far off the creep. The Zerglings scrambling back to defend. And that might be enough to box out. Using a little bit of creep. Some stutter step on the Lings, which is kind of crazy, but gets another one. But the Banshee saves the day for now. Banshee almost dies outright. Moments before Cloak, and it's going to be Mutaz. Rogue. No, it doesn't get 4 points. Oh. Rogue with the Spire as soon as possible after the lair. More gas on the way. No evolution chambers. Not even a Baneling nest. So it comes down to whether the first set of mutas are able to get... Oh, he sees the gas. Just seeing the gas there is kind of a giveaway. But thankfully for Rogue... Clem is probably going to be a little distracted by the fact that Zerglings come in and kill 6 SCVs at his 3rd. The double Evo chamber. Baneling nest now being added in. Seven Mutas. Clem did not add any... Okay. Alright, he figured it out. I mean, no reason to have missile turrets before the mutas show up. He knows the timing it could be. Only one of them at the natural. The most exposed base, so... Clearly... has hedging his bets now. And as the first Marines come out, the Mutas will potentially meet them. And in fact, he's just going to go fight heads up. The Banshee's helping out. Going to try to target some of the Mutas. The Banelings gets a couple, and the Banelings are undercut by the Banshees. So, a strong start for Clem because just holding off the Mutas in the first couple minutes they're out is tantamount. It's similar to just shutting them down entirely. The value of the Mutas is in growing more and more damage, creating a larger and larger problem to the point where the Terran is kind of bottled up in their base and the Zerg can take everything else. And Rogue has done that second part. He's got 85 drones. He's getting double upgrades and flyer attack. He's getting Baneling speed as well. But Clem has not been slowed down much at all. He's got 2-2 starting. Drilling Claws. A Thor is in production as well. He guesses that Rogue is taking this seriously. I think the Thor is going to be walled into his base, which is hilarious, but we'll find that out momentarily. Can ferry it out with a medevac, just special treatment. And now the Muta count reduced to 4. Though 5 more in production. It takes 5 Mutas to kill Marines or SCVs in a single volley, which is the bare minimum usually to really get any damage done. Anything past that is mostly just for deflecting air. The Widowmine will be taken out. Drilling Claws still a few seconds away. Cleans it up. The Changeling taken down as well. The Overseer. Clem has several... It's a House Thor. Alright. Come on out. Nope. Help me, step. Medevac, I'm stuck. I don't know. Yeah. Well, that's going to be a continuing problem. But even one Thor is enough to make this unit composition an order of magnitude more dangerous to the Mutaslings and Banelings. Drilling Claws is completed. 2-2 isn't done, but it's not needed. 130 to 100 army supply. And here comes Clem. No, look at that spread. I can't believe it's not butter. Meanwhile, the Banelings rolling in, trying to find something. Mutas and Lings counterattacking, but the Widow Mines find a huge chunk of damage. Another House Thor. I guess it can get out. It had to take the scenic route, though. Just a few Mutas back at home. Meanwhile, the Marines and Marauders are tearing through. Takes out the missile turret. The SCV's in an awkward spot, but the Thor will drive away the Mutas. Meanwhile, not too many units out front. There's a chance that Rogue can collapse on this. The Banelings rolling in, splits off some of the Marines. Absolute textbook from Clem. Still gets a few. 2-2 upgrades are completing mid-fight here, though. Rogue quite far off. Muta's collapsing. The Thor will be yoinked up. Widow Mines, big hit. Splash damage across the board. Thor still slamming in. Second one joining it. And it's going from bad to worse for the Korean Zerg. The Widow Mines slamming the point home. GG. Clem. Another strong victory. The Muta's not able to grind out enough space early on. And Clem just ripping right through. I think he figured it out when he saw the gas at the third base. But that the Mutas really need to start making progress early. Even though the Spire's a little bit quicker than it was, it doesn't matter if the medevac's already on your doorstep by the time the Mutas are out. So Clem heads to match point, denying Rogue the opportunity to get to another extreme Supreme late game. That brings us to something I felt all week, which is Winter Madness. Oh. What a series. That one looking like a more typical Clem game. he kind of accepted the rush to late game in games 1 and 2, which mixed success, but when Clem thrives is when there's still pieces on the board moving, not when we're in the kind of end game, almost theory crafting scenario. We're trying to figure out exactly how many overseers can you build before it gets to be too many. And the answer is 1 less than you did for most of you out there. Funny how that works. 1 SCV for scouting, 1 for the command center. And now, we wait. Clem, thinking about blocking a potential third, already setting up the SCV. Gonna maximize the potential annoyance. Rogue actually heads out to the other side with a drone. Rogue is willing to take that center base, it looks like. Clem's SCV, scouting for it. Wonder if he'd block if he had the opportunity, but either way. Reaper. No kills yet. Still has plenty of opportunity. Rude. Insubordinate and churlish. Brenda, not today, Suzanne. It's Susan. Suzanne! Sorry. Speed nearly complete. Tries to go for the creep tumor, but bounces the queen a little bit too close. Now we'll see what Rogue can come up with. A mixed map here. We've definitely seen some extreme late games, but the 4th base on either angle, well, because Rogue expanded down the center, the 4th base is technically the 3rd. But once you get to one of those outlying bases, it becomes a lot easier to attack directly. Which is part of why I think Clem kind of coerced Rogue into taking that one. The Reaper gets taken out moments before the Hellion can come across. Got another 1-1-1 back at home. At Barracks, Factory, Starport. Cloak has begun. Has begun. What are words? Few drones. Not getting the hazard pay they deserve for transferring at that time. 1 is incinerated. Zergling just scouring the edges just in case. They are quite early for Rogue, but not so early as to give away... Well, that single Zergling just did a world tour. Meanwhile, Clem has had enough of that. The Queens. The Hellion's getting deep onto the creep. It will cost 1 and most of the HP on the others. Three racks, double engineering bay. Banshee's still headed north. And Cloak is now completed. The Spore Crawler is just a couple seconds behind. He's gonna Cloak, get maybe 1 kill, and back off immediately. Already an Overseer, the first Overseer on the way. Oh no. The drones. There's not that many Zerglings here. Where do you go? If you go too far, the Banshee will get a hold of it. Aspire. Mutas are going to be the choice again. We'll see if he can improve on his last showing. The double gas at the third, I feel, just keeps giving it away. Yes, you need the gas for as many mutas as possible. But at the same time... Well, 5 more Rex. It's an octo Rex timing out of Clem. He is going to be driving the point home. There's a chance the Banshees actually scout the Spire as well. Doesn't quite get a hold of it, but 5 drones dead between the various implements. The Zerglings get in and get 4 kills. And there's no wall. Gets 5 SCVs. Not a bad haul. Even if he ends up losing the Lings, I think still worth it, especially at this stage of the game where it's very important to try to undercut any counter muta momentum. Alright, anything Rogue can do to limit Clem's economy and deal with the counter swing is going to be critical for extended survival. And also, you know, just to have the mutas do something that isn't desperately defending. The barracks are online. Bit of a supply block from Clem, though. Will actually stall out the production. 8 mutas. Double Evo just now. A full commitment to the mutas for Rogue. Changelings will actually be Hey! No. Changelings traumatizing Clem throughout the entire series. The evolution chamber timing, I think, has already given this away. And the fact the mutas are right there has given away even more. Yeah. Now I think he's going to be able to figure out that this is mutas. Missile turrets in production. Baneling speed is done. It's going to finish mid-fight, just as Clem was trying to set up for a defense. And there's not that many Marines. The mutas are chasing. Siege tanks on top of everything. Target fire needs to hit the Banes. Instead, they split off and go for the SCVs. A smart move at this stage. Closes in, 7 SCVs dead. He got some economic damage done, which means he can refill and compete on the field. How many mutas? Only lost 2 of them. So far, a good, not great, but good effort out of Rogue. Continues building up. The quest rests upon the edge of a muta. Stray but a little, and they will get gunned out of the sky. Oh. Another 2 mutas knocked out. Clem has the army supply lead by a large margin. Combat shield was severely delayed. I don't know if he forgot it or maybe there was a contaminate. No, Overseer went down or something. I think he just forgot, which is the only saving grace here. Without combat shield, these Marines are significantly more vulnerable. A much better chance that the Banelings will find those connections. And the mutas are swinging in. A decent spread knocks out a couple tanks. Many of the Banelings survive. The medevacs are still overhead. Any Marine that doesn't go down outright will be back at full HP in no time. Marines stimming forward. The mutas on top of everything. Banelings rolling right by. Still 2 Banes. Last targeted. He's holding his ground, and the Marines will drive the Zerg back. 1 seconds away, but those seconds certainly count. There are more seconds to stutter step forward. The siege tank out in front, trying to use the minimum fire zone, does not succeed. And now Rogue is back up against his own hatchery. Will retreat from the 4th base. And now the 3rd is vulnerable. He's going to try to cut off the reinforcements. 2-2 upgrades already on the way for Clem. He hasn't built any more SCVs. He's focused on this mass production, a dozen Marines at a time. 138 supply apiece. Plus 2 infantry weapons and armor are the kicker here, though. If Clem still has this level of army supply in comparison with 2-2 finishing, oh, the medevacs will boost right through the mutas, and there aren't enough to take them out quickly. The Lings and Banes right on the edge of the creep. Rogue does not have any further upgrades. Clem is about to have a 2 upgrade advantage, and Rogue is supply blocked. Oh, it's a disaster! The mutas will take out a tank. Clem helps him out with the supply block. Maybe not in a method that Rogue would have enjoyed or asked for, but another wave of Banelings. But the Marines are grinding their way through, and now Rogue's caught between a rock and a hard place. Great target fire. Single Bane. Not enough. Another round. But Clem is stimming forward. And Rogue is dwindling. The mutas are shredded from the sky. GG. Clem reasserts himself and takes a decisive 3 games in a row. After one and then 2 of the most dramatic and epic late games I've ever seen. 2 very solid but decisive mid-game victories for the kid. And he takes it with relative ease. Though I'm sure it was a frustrating set to start. So, thank you for watching. Certainly hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Thank you to Wardi for another incredible year. And I hope it made your day just a little bit better. If you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So, thank you to our Mule Tier patrons for bringing in the extra minerals. Big Jig, Devin Door, Kate, Mario Suit, and a special shout out to Huntmaster as well for some extra support. And thank you for watching. Make sure to check out this video that Jimmy put up there just for you, unless it's a short, and then go find a real video. Why do you recommend shorts? Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.